nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims.
Here.
Alderman Weggie.
Here.
Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill. Alderman Shelton.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Any changes to the agenda? Yes, Alderman Gould.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we pull from the consent agenda, let's see, item F.
Resolution 1427.
Resolution 1427, and just add it to the new business.
Okay. Not that you have any questions, you just want to have a discussion.
I just think it's an exciting, big
Okay.
thing that I think it'd be good to just have the public have awareness about it.
All right. We will move 1427 over to new business. Any other changes? If not, any objection to approve? Yes. Yep.
Get your mic on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're, I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, it's the wrong meeting, I guess.
But it's changed.
Oh, okay.
Need a refresh.
Refresh. I didn't even notice that.
Okay, aside from that, removing 1427, any other changes? Any objection to approving the same by acclamation with that change? Seeing none, it will be so approved. Thank you. Brings us down to item 4, under which we have 2 items. One is, and that's announcements, appointments, proclamations, and recognitions. The first is an appointment, and I would like to get the board's approval for appointing specifically, well, it looks like are we reappointing all these people? Is that
No,
just
Don.
just Don Keeling?
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke with Don Keeling a few months ago. He's expressed some interest in getting involved in the city and serving on one of our committees. And after talking to him, he said he thought that the Board of Adjustment would work out well. We have supplied you with his CV. And so with that, I am going to be making the recommendation of Don Keeling. And can we get a
I'd like to
motion?
make a motion to accept your recommendation of Don Keeling.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. And that brings us down to the second item under announcements, and that is a MetroLink security presentation. The floor is yours.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for having us. Board, I'd like to give you an overview of a major project that we're undertaking at Bi-State Development. So my name is Kevin Scott, and I am the General Manager of Security for Bi-State Development. I joined the company back in September of 2019. I spent 27 years in law enforcement here in the St. Louis County area and saw an opportunity to go down and make an impact on this regional transit system. They were in the midst of a security analysis for a rebuild or reconstruct of the public safety dynamic at Metro. And so I joined on the heels of that analysis, and we have worked through a number of different things since I've been there. Most of you probably know that Bi-State Development is the parent DBA of Metro Transit. Metro Transit consists of 3 different modes of transportation. First and foremost, if I click on the thumbnail, are the slides large enough for you to see?
We're not seeing it on the screen yet, so I think you need to activate the
We need to do
Magic.
quick share.
There you go.
Okay, very good. Is that large enough for you to see?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of history before I get into our secured platform plan that applies specifically to MetroLink. And I won't take much of your time. I know that you have a busy agenda. But back in 2018, on Metrolink, there had been some significant occurrences. And ridership was stagnant or dropping at the time. So the regional stakeholders, or many of our regional stakeholders, came to Bi-State and said, hey, listen, we need to do an analysis about our security structure. What do we need to do to make Metrolink safer? What are the best practices that are employed in other areas within the country on properties our size? And so with that, Bi-State Development, in conjunction with East Westgate Council of Governments, used FTA grant funding and hired WSP USA to do what initiated in 2018 as a security study specifically on Metrolink, right, the light rail system. They were here a couple of months, and they embedded a 3-person team into the workings of the then Public Safety Department, and quickly realized that their assessment didn't need to focus specifically on Metrolink, but the totality of the public safety structure for Metro transit-wide, so buses, rail, call-a-ride. So during phase 1 of this study, they focused on 6 primary areas: security strategy, police and security staffing and procedures, training, fair enforcement, technology, and crime prevention through environmental design, often referred to as SEPTED. At the end of phase 1, which is in early 2019, they made 99 recommendations for improvement. So when we arrived in September of 2019, we began working on those 99 recommendations. So I will pause there and offer to you at any point, if you'd like to learn more about the security study that was done or the 99 recommendations, I'll be more than happy to spend one-on-one time with you, give you a tour of our facilities, show you what we've enacted as a result of those recommendations as we move forward. But what this did for Bi-State and for Metro, when you think about the money spent on this analysis, it was some of the best money that the region's ever spent, because it provided what I would refer to as a blueprint for success moving forward, and what is a comprehensive, or what does a comprehensive public safety program look like on a transit system. And there were a lot of things prior to this study that Metro was not doing correctly, all right? So if you'd like to learn more about that, I'll be more than happy to spend time with you. I'll provide our contact information to the city, and we look forward to having some deeper discussions. But on the tail end of that, the majority of those recommendations have been implemented. There are some remaining recommendations that are dependent on overall capital budgeting decisions by the company itself. But why I'm here tonight is to talk about the Metrolink Secured Platform Plan. I don't know if you've read any articles in the paper or you have seen any news stories on local television, but we are moving forward in taking Metrolink from an open concept system to a gated and secured platform system. This has been under consideration for a long time. I've lived in the St. Louis area for 40 years. In 1993, when the system opened, it was open concept and was fine for about 2 years. And then it started to take a turn for the worst. And so we think a lot of the ancillary or residual issues from a security perspective we are dealing with quite effectively, but no project is more important than taking an open concept platform system to a closed system. And so we are in this process now. We have done some initial design, and we have retained the services of a local engineering firm, HNTB. They're actually a nationwide firm. It's a transportation-focused engineering firm to take our general concepts of all 38 Metrolink platforms to final design. And what does that look like? That is high security gating. It will be a roto gating turnstile system with an accompanying ADA swing gate. It will be the reconfiguration and the enhancement of our closed circuit television system, a lot of which is still old analog technology, upgrading all of that to new digital technology, going from about 1,800 cameras to 1,600 system-wide, including cameras on the vehicles themselves, on the light rail vehicles and the buses that allow for live real-time viewing from what will all be tied into our real-time camera center at Metro Transit and then fed into the real-time camera centers at St. Louis County, the city of St. Louis, and also in St. Clair County, Illinois. So gating, fencing, CCTV reconfiguration, and the corresponding project moving simultaneously is the purchase and the implementation of a new fare collection system. If you've had any experience with Metro Transit, you'll know that there's probably 59 different forms of fare media. The fare collection and purchasing system is very antiquated. It is not in compliance with industry best practices. And so that project is going on as a sister project to SPP. And at the end of the day, both projects have to meet in the middle. The new fare collection system will tie into and communicate with the gating system, which will allow for very streamlined fare media, mobile application. Everything will be, like I said, integrated into the gating system. Your proper fare will trigger the gates will release, and you'll be able to access the platforms. A lot of what we deal with, not so much in Brentwood, but in other areas, there are things that happen off of our property that are not a Metro Transit issue initially, but they will traverse onto our property. And what our ridership really wants, our dependent ridership, the people that need to ride it every single day and depend on it for work and their routine lifestyle, and for choice ridership, what people want is to feel safer in those environments on the platforms. And so the integration of the gating system in conjunction with what we're doing with our staff and the other security upgrades that we've made will hopefully provide a different experience as we move forward. We feel like we're making progress, but there's more to do. As far as funding for secured platforms, it's been estimated to be about a $52 million project. $12 million will come from bond refinancing proceeds dedicated to security. $12 million from Illinois allocation. This is federal stimulus money. $17.25 million from bi-state development capital and American Recovery Plan funding. And $10.75 million from private sector St. Louis. And the $10.75 million we have in possession, we have MOUs with all of those funders right now. So we are ready to go. A timeline for this, there are 38 existing platforms. There will be a 39th platform at Mid-America Airport. So MetroLink is going to expand 5.5 miles around Scott Air Force Base from Shiloh Scott to tie Mid-America Airport to Lambert along the Red Line. So there will be 39 total platforms. We are not excavating and reconstructing any of the platforms. We are taking the existing footprints and we are retrofitting for gating and fencing. If we treat this project in totality, if we try to address it all as one project, it would probably be 2027 before we would see gates go in. So that's really not practical. So what we've done is we've built out a phased approach. The first phase, which will be 4 platforms, and it is a pilot of very low usage platforms because it will give us an opportunity to install the gating systems, learn from the implementations that we're putting in place, and will also allow the fare collection system time to catch up. So in phase 1, that will be Emerson Park. These are all on the Illinois side. Emerson Park, JJK, which is the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center. SWIC, which is Southwestern Illinois College, and slipping my mind right now, but I'll remember it in just a minute. But there are 4 platforms right along the central corridor, and the key to the pilot is once we put the gating and the fencing system in, we will have to staff those locations until the fare collection system comes online. So Washington Park, is the 4th one, Washington Park. So the first phase will bid for construction in August of this year. That'll be about a 60-day process, and we will be able to implement construction on phase 1 after that procurement process takes place. As phase 1 moves to bid construction, phase 2 will enter a 75-day final design period, Once that's concluded, that will bid for construction at the end of the year in December. So we are trying to, with all 6 phases, create as much of a cascading effect as possible. With this approach, we think we can shave about a year off the project. In addition to that, the procurement laws are different in Missouri and Illinois, and so the phases, we're trying to align those as much as possible with the individual states. And we are working to ensure that through this phasal approach, as many construction companies as possible can bid on this project. We felt like if we treated it as one large conglomerate, that it would limit the number of bids that we got for construction, and so we're trying to move forward with that. Lastly, the 3 major funding partners of Bi-State Development, St. Louis County, the City of St. Louis, and St. Clair County, Illinois. All of the executive elected leadership has provided their profound support. In addition to the full support of the Bi-State Development Board of Commissioners, and all of the funding dynamics that I just articulated is being played out and worked through and solidified in our fiscal 2023 budget process, which is nearing finalization. So that's where we are with the project. One last thing that I thought you might want to know in conjunction with all of the things that we've talked about is we've also implemented a mental health program on the transit system. We have entered into a contract with Chestnut Health Systems. They're based in Illinois, and we have placed teams of clinicians on MetroLink and MetroBus to help support our security elements. Obviously, they bring to the table services and programs that we would not be able to provide, and we have found that this has had a significant impact and has been a mitigation tool for us, not only to deal with residual security issues, but also provide people with the services that they're in need of. So with that, that's a lot of information. That's why I offered a sit down and a tour when I first began the conversation with you, and I'll be more than happy to do that. But are there any questions?
Do we have any questions for Kevin? Yes, Alderman Larkenmiller.
Kevin, on these platform designs, are you seeking local input from police departments and how those are designed?
Yeah, so when we enter into the final design phases of each of those platforms, we will, not only the MetroLink Police Task Force, St. Louis County, the City of St. Louis, and St. Clair, but when we enter design for the Brentwood platform, we will absolutely reach out to your police agency as well.
Anybody else? Alderman Gould.
You may have mentioned it, the camera systems that you're putting in, will those be also accessible to the local municipalities, being able to see activity when they need to?
So there will be, the cameras will be live fed into our own real-time camera center and the St. Louis County Real-Time Camera Center, the City of St. Louis. If a municipality has its own public safety answering point and has an interest in having those feeds live, we can certainly work through that process. And we have done so in St. Clair County. St. Clair County does not have a standalone real-time camera center, but they have, things are structured over there a little bit differently. They have 4 main public safety answering points. So 4 main police dispatching centers, and so our camera feeds are fed to them live.
Yeah, that would be something, I think, when we get to that point, be good to have our police chief and all weigh in on as well.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to have those conversations.
Alderman Wuggy.
Yeah, do you foresee a reduction in the number of entry points? So like, especially like Brentwood, you're able to enter it from both sides. Do you think there will be a reduction in how many ways you can get to the platform with the new gating system?
The Brentwood platform itself, there will be entrances on both sides. I think that's how the original concept was laid out.
Okay, thanks.
What else? Great. Congratulations on getting that private funding lined up. I thought that was going to be the heavy lift, but
Yeah, we're very fortunate and we're excited. And again, we're excited about the future of the system, and we're looking forward to making it better.
great. Well, thank you for your time, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, and that brings us to public hearing. We have 2 items, And with that, I will gavel open the first, and that is a public hearing for a new conditional use permit for a hair salon and massage studio at 9012 Manchester Road.
Whitney Kelly on behalf of the city of Brentwood. Mary Merriweather is looking to open up a massage studio and hair salon at 9012 Manchester Road. The property is under a half acre, so therefore those uses require a conditional use permit to review parking available on the site. The staff report indicated that there's sufficient parking, so we don't anticipate any issues with this use at this location. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 5-0. And Mary?
Hello, my name is Mary Merriweather. My daughter is the hairstylist, and I'm the massage therapist. She's been in business for over 20 years. I've been in business for over 30. We just need a place to work. And so this would be the perfect place for the both of us. The parking's not going to be a problem because we're going to work it out to where if she has clients, then especially cutting hair and blow drying their hair, it won't bother me performing the massages.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? If not, we will take you up in the new business section.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I will have a closed public hearing for the new conditional use permit for a hair salon and massage studio at 9012 Manchester Road, which brings us to the last public hearing, and that is a public hearing for a text amendment amending section 400.1870B of the zoning code relating to corner lots in the A and B single-family residential zoning districts to allow for a reduction in the side yard setbacks for those properties along a minor arterial roadway, to allow for a detached garage accessory structure for certain conditions. That, I will gavel open the public hearing on that item.
Whitney Kelly on behalf of the city of Brentwood. This was brought before us for, excuse me, for those properties that have frontage along McKnight or our minor arterial road as identified by MoDOT. However, they do not have direct access. And so the idea was to allow for them to be able to utilize their side yard setback for a detached accessory garage, provided only that they have access onto the side street with no access along McKnight Road. Due to the extended setback that is required for any corner lot. And given that most of McKnight Road has separated by fencing, a wide minor arterial road is wider than a standard interior side street. It was the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for me on this? If not, we will take it up again later under new business. Thank you. And with that, I will close the public hearing on the text amendment amending section 400.1870B. Brings us down to citizen comments. Are there anybody in the public who cares to address the public? I mean the board. Now is the time to do so.
There's no one online.
No one online. Okay, we'll move down to mayor and alderman reports. I have just a few items. First of all, I want to thank Alderman Plufka for taking the reins 2 weeks ago tonight. As he indicated, I was at a legislative conference in Jefferson City. That is something that I attend annually. It's open to all members, all the elected officials, if you care to join next year. It's a wonderful opportunity to talk to your elected officials, and that is something I take advantage of, meeting with our senator and our representatives. But this year in particular, because of a couple of items that are very important to me, that being public safety as well as sales tax, I took that opportunity to talk to other senators and other representatives, and specifically on the issue of public safety. Part of the problem that we're dealing with is how St. Louis County Juvenile Office deals with juveniles. There was a law that went into effect, it was effective January of 2022, which ended up treating 17-year-olds as juveniles. And anytime a police pulls over and is involved with a juvenile and there are crimes that have been committed, the state has put out a formula for that is to be applied by the juvenile officers and making a determination of whether or not the police can take that juvenile into custody. It's a point system that is assigned to these various crimes. And you have to have a certain number of points in order for the police then to take them into custody. And what we have found, since I've been working on this since last summer, is that jurisdictions apply that formula differently. For instance, in St. Charles, they pull over or they come into contact with the juvenile who they believe has committed a number of crimes. Each crime has its own point assigned to that crime. In St. Charles County, they add up all those points. If they meet the threshold, then they're permitted to take that juvenile into custody. St. Charles County, on the other hand, doesn't add up all the points. They look at the worst offense and exclude or ignore all the other points. So in St. Louis County, it's much harder to meet that threshold to hold that juvenile in custody. So one thing that we're trying to do down in Jeff City, and we have an amendment that we're trying to get attached to a bill that would require the juvenile officers, it would mandate that they add up all the points. That is, follow the approach of St. Charles County instead of the way that St. Louis County does it. Unfortunately, there's some ambiguity in that formula, and we think that if we can get this amendment passed, we will see police officers being in a position to then go ahead and hold more juveniles, because right now we've heard a number of stories from a lot of police departments where there's a crime that is committed and the juvenile officer will not hold them in St. Louis County. They simply say take them back to their parents. And then they come back out later in the night and they're apprehended again that night or the next night. And we're trying to address that. The other thing was I met with Representative Lane Roberts out of Joplin, who had sponsored a bill, kind of an omnibus crime bill. One provision in there would make it illegal for minors to be in possession of guns. Unfortunately, at the committee level, that provision was stripped out of the bill. Representative Behringer with St. Louis, the city of St. Louis, tried to put it back in by way of an amendment that failed. So that bill is moving through without that provision. So as a result, it is not illegal for minors to be in possession of guns in St. Louis, and that makes it very difficult on police, especially in the urban areas, because what we have seen, if you're following the news at all, you can see there are more than one instances of juveniles walking down the street with guns, displaying guns, and quite frankly, that's not good. And that's what we're trying to address. I don't see there's any way that, given the makeup of the current legislature down in Jefferson City, we're going to be successful in doing that. But, you know, that's just the way that it is. You win some and you lose some. The other issue is on sales tax, and if you saw today's paper, that's the one thing that we're concerned about. I think I expressed that maybe to some of you, and that is there is an effort in Jeff City to exclude the sale of food from sales tax. And that's fine if it's limited solely to the state, but there are a few representatives or elected officials that want to apply it to the local governments as well. And we were talking to the senator from Jefferson County, Mary Elizabeth Coleman, who was the one that was sponsoring it, that would apply to local governments. And she was in favor, if it got pulled out of her bill, because it was in the bill, if it got pulled out, she was going to live with that. Turns out she wasn't going to live with it, and she got it put back in as an amendment last week, and it was voted on a second, and it's just waiting for a third vote at the Senate level. And to put it in perspective for the city, if that bill passes, we would see approximately 15–16% decrease in our revenue in 2023. And that is devastating to the city of Brentwood. It'd be devastating to any municipality if that bill gets passed. You know, we would have to look at cutting back on a lot of expenditures. And as I spoke with Senator Caleb Rowden about this, and one of my points of frustration is that we made decisions based on this expected stream of revenue coming in, one of which was Brentwood Bound. You know, me, because I was an alderman at the time, voted to issue the $80 million in certificates of participation with the expectation that sales tax revenue would come in and help us service that debt. And, you know, we're using that 80 million to address a state highway, Manchester Road. That is a state highway. And instead of asking the state to take care of that, we're taking care of it because we know the state's not going to do it. So we're doing it, we're giving them a benefit, benefiting the state by us taking this off their hand. But at the same time, they're looking at ways to reduce and restrict our revenue in order to service that debt. So it was a very dire situation last week. The good news is that it looks like the cooler heads have prevailed and the folks in the Senate have decided to kind of slow things down. In fact, I saw at about 4:40 today, I think Senator Bratton, this is his bill that this amendment was attached to, is starting to urge people to pull back on that bill altogether. Because I think they realize how detrimental it would be to municipalities. So that's what I was doing. That's why I missed the meeting 2 weeks ago. The only other thing to talk about is, if you remember last year, we had a cleanup along Eager and even parts of Highway 40. And surprise, surprise, it's in need of a cleanup again. And thanks to Charlie Brennan, he is heading this up once again, and he did it last year. So he reached out to me a couple of times, and it looks like March 31st, that's a Friday, and the reason he's doing it Friday is because actually that's when we can get more MoDOT people to be involved. It's unfortunate that it's a school day, because I told him in the past it would be wonderful if it was on a Saturday like it was last year, because I know we had some Brentwood school students that showed up to get some hours and to help out. But that's the date that has been decided, so mark your calendars. We'll have some more information out. March 31st, again, it's only like about an hour out there, and it made a huge difference on the appearance of Eager, on the sides of Eager Road, and even on Highway 40. So we'll blast some more information out there, and if you can find time to fit that into your schedule on that Friday, that would be wonderful. With that, Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. I think that it is important to tell the citizens of Brentwood just what kind of great leadership we have in terms of our mayor, what he just described, and his efforts down in Jefferson City. It looks as though the legislative process, from their vantage point, is not satisfied until they have either stripped most municipalities from the power to tax, the power to regulate, the power to govern really in any way, shape, or form. And time and again, it seems to me that the legislature has looked upon the cities and the municipalities that make up this great state with complete disdain. And so I very much appreciate the mayor's efforts and believe that those are the kinds of efforts that may just turn the tide on bad legislation like the legislation he's been talking about. The second thing I would say, and connected with the mayor as well, is happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
No other report.
Okay, thank you.
Was it a singing report?
Yeah.
Alderwoman Tice.
Well, I will echo the birthday wishes and also the thanks for the tremendous effort that Mayor Dimmick gives to our city beyond just the 2 square miles and where we live. He spends a lot of effort for us. And secondly, the Ward 1 meeting, which is typically the second Tuesday of the month, is not tomorrow night because of a conflict with rooms at the community center. And I believe, I'm looking at Kelly, I believe it's going to be Wednesday.
March 8th.
On March 8th. So it's going to be Wednesday, March 8th at 6:30 at the community center. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Weggie.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the board for, your sponsorship of the PTO ice skate mixer this weekend. It was much appreciated, very, very well attended. And a lot of parents and PTO members came up and thanked the board for sponsoring it. I said we didn't sponsor it, we just waived the fee, but that's okay if they want to give us a little credit for it. So thank you all for that, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Alderwoman Sims.
By this point, if I repeated everything, that might be a little boring, but happy birthday, and thank you for all of your work down in Jeff City.
Alderman Lockmuller.
I'll have to ditto that too. Thank you.
You. Alderman Gould.
Yes, ditto plus the Ward 3 meeting that normally is at the last Tuesday of the month. There, due to a conflict at the rec center, we needed to move. So we have shifted our Ward 3 meeting to March 29th, which is the Wednesday after our normal schedule, at 6:30, because we've shifted our time to 6:30 now, so at the rec center. Thank you.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Yes, it's been a while since there was a library report, so I'd like to pass on a couple programs from the library downstairs. Several post offices have passport applications, ours doesn't. And since the library is now a passport acceptance agency, one of the employees from our little post office came down last week to find out what the program was so that she could send patrons here. So they are working on that. Another new item is the acquisition of a number of new computers thanks to federal grants that they've written. There are 8 new desktops, 5 for the public, 3 for the staff, and 5 laptops that people can use within the library itself with no time limit, where the others have a time limit. These were acquired through the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is administered by the state libraries. So they do take advantage of what they can to acquire things for us. And once the computers have some of the bugs out of them, they will be put out for everyone. And happy birthday.
Alderman Shelton.
I'll echo what everyone else said. Happy birthday.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. There's no other place I'd rather be spending my birthday than with you all. City Administrator Report. Brentwood Bound update.
All right, Craig Schlitter with Navigate Building Solutions. Happy birthday as well. We got to just keep it going tonight. Before I go through my normal update, one piece of fun news on site is the Breckenridge Industrial Court Bridge. The new one is open as of last Tuesday, so you can now drive over. The former bridge was demolished last weekend, so the site's really shaping up. Landscaping is going to commence in March, so you'll start seeing the site turn more and more green over the next couple months. So it's an exciting time for the project. Going through the normal financial update, there were no construction costs spent since the last board meeting. Soft costs, $81,516.09 was spent on legal, project management, courier, design, utility, and auditing fees. There were no property acquisition fees, and there were no changes to additional funding sources.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Alderman Weggie.
Yeah, hey Craig, so, we've started publicizing the June 3rd opening of the park. Just for my understanding, do you think the tunnel and everything will be fully viable by June 3rd?
We hope so, but MoDOT controls that. So their contractor schedule says they have to be done by July of '23. So we are trying to push them to get that done early, which would be the June 3rd. But there may be some parts that may not be completely done because we don't control that schedule. That's a state-run project.
Okay, and then the segment of Great Rivers Greenway that'll go along Brentwood Boulevard, is the plan that would be done as well at that time?
No, sir. That project's still waiting on the Union Pacific agreement. And then once that agreement's done, then we have to go out to bid, and then we have to construct it. So we still have many steps to go on that one.
Okay.
But what will be done is the Brentwood Park, the Phase 1 area, and the Phase 2 area. So there will be nearly, 33 acres that'll be open. So it'll be a amazing park that opens. There will just be some segments like the playground, the part along Brentwood Boulevard, and maybe some tunnel features that won't be done.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks,
Great,
Craig.
thank you.
Consent agenda, we've removed one item, and that's item E, no? F. Okay, so I did update. Okay, so we have only 6 items now under the consent agenda. Any questions or requests to remove any of those items? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Waggy?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Okay, thank you. We have no old business, brings us to new business. The first up is Bill number 6449. Can we get a first reading by title only, please, Mr. City Attorney?
Bill number 6449, first reading, and happy birthday. An ordinance authorizing amending sections 400.1870 regarding yard requirements for certain corner lots in the A and B zoning district.
Right, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Whitney on this? Yes, come on down, Whitney. Alderman Lockmiller.
Whitney, how about as far as the arterial roadways, you mentioned besides along McKnight, there's one on Brentwood, which is, I believe, south of Manchester Road.
Correct, but there aren't any residential homes that back up to that road, so
Because that's
as of right
GC.
now, yeah.
Okay, so this is only A and B zoned
Yes.
areas. Okay. And then, I guess, why not go for a variance on something like this instead of changing the code?
Plufka, would you like?
I can give you my opinion about that.
Sure.
About 40% of the properties involved here don't comply with the current ordinance. And it strikes me that in that situation, when so much of the properties that are there are out of compliance, that it seems like it's better practice to change or amend the ordinance so that these properties come into compliance rather than asking for yet another property owner to go through the variance process and seek a one-off every single time that this happens. We just thought it was better practice to conform it, and there's reasons, I mean, beyond just the fact that so many of those properties are out of compliance currently, there's valid reason for treating a corner lot that corners onto McKnight differently than a corner lot that corners onto any other residential area, whether it's in Ward 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And that is that, you know, the reasons for doing it, the reasons for insisting on that frontage, even on a side lot setback, on a corner lot, are for two reasons: are for aesthetics and for safety. And the safety issue is we don't want people building, you know, within 10 feet of a street where people are going to have to come down that street and with sight lines be able to see down a street to make sure they're not running into a car or that a car's not running into them. The second thing is just aesthetics, the idea that we should try to preserve as much open space in our neighborhoods as we possibly can. Those are both very valid points. They don't ring true when it comes to a piece of property where their side is McKnight Road. It is not a road that is being traveled or that is part of the subdivision. It is an arterial road. It is designed and currently in its use is getting, you know, 20,000 plus cars a day, double its designed use. As far as the safety part of it goes, this ordinance has been altered in a very specific way such that there will be no sightline concerns about anybody coming up on any of the side streets that empty onto McKnight Road. There will be no additional building closer to McKnight that will interfere with their ability to see down McKnight, either to the north or to the south, because we're insisting that the structures that would be allowable under this new ordinance would have to be set back at least to the rear. I think it's the rear line of the property as it faces the side street.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yes. Well, any detached accessory structure can go up to 5 feet into the rear yard from the rear property line, but it's supposed to meet the side yard setback of anything. And because of the properties along a night, as with any corner lot, that requires additional setback of 25 feet. So this would allow for a detached garage to be 10 feet instead of 25 feet from the side property line.
That doesn't encroach on the right-of-way.
Right, it's from the property line, not from the road. So people often get that
Edge of the
confused.
sidewalk in this case.
Yeah, right-of-way includes the road and the adjacent public access area. The property line defines where the public right-of-way begins, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, we would like to have a second read on this tonight. If we could get a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read on Bill 6449 by title only, please?
Bill number 6449, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance authorizing amending section 400.1870 regarding yard requirements for certain corner lots in the A and B zoning districts.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect 6449 in ordinance form.
Second.
That was moved by Alderwoman O'Neill and seconded by, I think, Alderman Gould. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6449 will become ordinance number 5080.
Thank you. Brings us down to Bill number 6450. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6450, first reading, an ordinance granting a site plan approval and a conditional use permit for a 400-square-foot hair salon and massage therapy studio at 9012 Manchester Road.
Anybody have any questions for either the applicant or for Whitney? Okay, if not, I think we are doing we are doing a second. We would like to have a second read on this.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that motion for second read? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6450 by title only, please?
Bill number 6450, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance granting site plan approval and a conditional use permit for a 400-square-foot hair salon and massage therapy studio at 9012 Manchester Road.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6450 into ordinance form.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Alderman Gould.
I just have one question. The business that's in there now is that's the massage parlor, and so now this would just be allowing them to have, massage spa studio, not a parlor. Forgive me for that. No, I won't comment. This will just be allowing both of the businesses to exist in the same space.
Technically, both of them needed the CUP together. It was a locksmith office, so she's been going through the process to,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Great. That's all. The only question I had.
Any other questions? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6450 will become ordinance 5081.
Thank you. Brings us to Bill number 6451. Can we get a first reading by title only, please?
Bill number 6451, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, approving an amendment to an agreement for housing of municipal inmates with St. Louis County, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Chief Spees, care to speak on this?
Happy birthday. It's just an up of costs from St. Louis County related to housing prisoners. One that would probably really catch your attention there is if they need medical attention while housed, it goes up to $300 a night, a day. So it's a significant increase from St. Louis County for prisoners. Good news is we don't house that many folks, so this is just a renewal of the contract, but you see the costs.
Thank you. Any questions? Not? Once again, we would like to have a second reading.
Motion for a second reading?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6451 by title only, please?
Bill number 6451, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, approving an amendment to an agreement for housing of municipal inmates with St. Louis County, authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith, and providing for the effective date of this ordinance, and containing a severability clause.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to perfect 6451 into ordinance form? Motion made by Alderwoman O'Neill, seconded by Alderman Lockmuller. Any discussion? That was to perfect, is there? Yes, that was. Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6451 will become ordinance 5082.
Thank you. Brings us down to Bill number 6452. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
Bill number 6452, first reading, an ordinance adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances of the City of Brentwood, establishing the same, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as herein expressly provided, providing for the manner of amending such code of ordinances, providing penalties for the violation thereof, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective.
Thank you. City Administrator Akande.
Happy birthday, Mayor Dimmitt. We were going to sing, but we didn't think you'd want that.
Thank you.
But we are having a new code made for you.
What else is there to ask for?
This is an annual housekeeping item to approve the 2022 statutory updates that are incorporated in Supplement 21, number 21. This is done every year at the end of the General Assembly after the governor has signed all the new bills into law. The city codifiers complies the list of all the new statutory updates, and with the adoption of the ordinance, it goes into effect. And part of what we're trying to do is to improve clarity, enforcementability, and or better reflect regulations used by most communities. So the department directors have reviewed attachment A or Exhibit A that list all the descriptions of the revisions, and we are going to be abiding by it. So unless there are specific questions, once this is adopted, it will be codified into the city's ordinances.
Alderman Weggie.
I don't know if this matters, but I think there's a typo at the bottom of the first page in the code. So it says 210-1330, and it should be 215-1330.
Is that in the bill?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the supplement.
Yeah, the very first page?
Yeah, first page.
210-1330?
Yeah, that should be 215-1330.
Okay, thank you.
Does that matter?
We'll check it.
Okay. Any questions? We would like to have a second read on this. Can we get a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill 6452 by title only, please?
Bill number 6452, second reading and consideration for adoption. An ordinance adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances of the City of Brentwood, establishing the same, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not included therein, except as herein expressly provided, providing for the manner of amending such code of ordinances, providing penalty for the violation thereof, and providing when this ordinance shall become effective.
Great. And can we get a motion to perfect Bill number 6452 into ordinance form?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6452 will become ordinance number 5083.
Thank you. And the last item under new business is resolution number 1427, which was on the consent agenda. And this is a resolution approving a contract with SWT Design to prepare the City of Brentwood Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Grunfelder, Director Grunfelder, would you like to come on down? Tell us what this is all about.
Yes, so first of all, thank you, Alderman Gold, for bringing this off the consent agenda, so I can, of course, say happy birthday, Mayor. So we put out an RFQ for the master plan. We felt that this is the time to kind of update the master plan with Brentwood Park coming online. How does that affect everything else within our park system? That also, we want to take in consideration the area south of Bi-State and, of course, Mount Calvary Park. So it's a good time to kind of look at our master plan. So we did send out the RFQ to 25 firms, local and national. We got 8 submittals, all the way from Oregon to Pennsylvania, nice spread of the country, and we interviewed 5. And I'll tell you, they were great. I mean, we basically scored them. It was 3 Parks and Rec staff members and our communications manager. And we scored them within, 4 of them within 10 points of each other. So they're really close. And what we were really looking for was public engagement. We want to make sure that we have a lot of people coming out to give us opinions about what we want to see. We talked about sustainability, making sure that we look at sustainability throughout our park system, safety and security, making sure that we look and keep that in mind, and also kind of what do we do as far as park maintenance to make sure that we keep our parks looking good and maybe other ways to maintain the park. So as we went through that with our 4 firms, we had a great firm that has done thousands of master plans and were wonderful, but it's kind of cookie cutter and kind of used to kind of, oh, you just do this, this, and this, and we'll be done in 2 days. Maybe not that bad. But we had also some people who were really robust engagement, but hadn't done a whole lot of parks master plans. And so we kind of went somewhere in the middle, which is a firm that has done 50 master plans and had a very robust public engagement. They also included Ballard King and RIV Design to help them with some of the elements of the plan that they needed some help with. They also have experience in operations and maintenance and planning. They are a site and lead certified, and so they have expertise in both of those. And they can help out with CAPRA, which is our accreditation process. And so for all those reasons, we recommended SWT.
When was the last time we had a park master plan?
It was approved in 2015, 14, late 14, early 15. And so we're a little under the 10-year mark. We're right about the 10-year mark. You look 10 to 15 years. Okay. And again, our push to do it now was because of Brentwood Park, area south of Bi-State, and Mount Calvary Park.
And have we had any experience with this SWT firm?
A little. They're working on something called the Destination Playground. They've done a wonderful job with that. They're good to work with. They're Jay, who it's not quite Ted. You know, Ted's the one you guys are used to. Jay's kind of the other partner. He does the master plan side, and he's well versed in doing this and well versed in the community engagement aspect.
Thank you. We have any questions for Director Grunfelder about Resolution 1427? Not. Can we get a motion to approve Resolution 1427?
I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Plufka.
Yeah, I was going to build on your question and say and ask you to tell us to what extent did that prior relationship impact the decision making here?
It was a part of it. It wasn't the main part. When it came down to kind of, you know, really the sands that kind of tipped the scale, that was kind of the last part that was like, look, they have the expertise of not only Brentwood, but St. Louis. They also do national work, so they aren't just around this area. They go around nationally and do work. So that was kind of the last part of tipping the scale.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Can we get a motion to approve Resolution 1427?
Motion to approve Resolution 1427.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderwoman O'Neill? Alderman Shelton?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Brings us down to citizen comments. Anybody in the public care to address the board? Now's the time to do so. You'll be given up to 3 minutes. Nobody online either?
Nobody online.
Wow. Okay. We have no need for a closed meeting tonight. And so,
Happy birthday to you.
yeah, that's another wonderful birthday present. Seeing no further business, meeting is adjourned.